So we've all seen Star Trek, the Star Trek scene where everyone is able to speak with everybody else regardless of what language they're speaking due to Star Trek's universal translator. Well, thanks to natural language processing and deepfake technology, we can do the same thing in real life. So, first I want to show you a scene from Star Trek.
I don't know what in the hell it wants. Communicate with it or disable it. And quickly, please.
Kan abwischen bochliaj.
I need to stop the presentation. How do I stop the presentation on that screen? Oh,
I would just show those on YouTube.
no, the presentation didn't, oh, it's a separate monitor, okay. I thought it was duplicated, okay. So.
Oh yeah, drag it. Yeah, drag it over. There you go.
Quebec boomer dommage.
Faut pas parler pour Klingon. Well, it has my ship. I don't know what in the hell it wants. Communicate with it or disable it. And quickly, please.
Kan abwischen bochliaj. Hurlach bec boomer dommage.
Faut pas parler pour Klingon.
Wat detto che sto inviando più o meno.
Het is al net de pek nog. Jij kan niet je verstoren, hoe surreal.
Was ist passiert?
Traduttore, universale, non funziona.
Captain Pike, Marconis con gli acti in tre soli. Andiamo a sapere di questo.
Hat jemand eine Idee?
Serene.
Hello, Kamal, let me get down to the
你以前常常认的一样的多。
是，就是Sir.
El traductor debe estar así invadido por un virus. Está traduciendo todo a un idioma diferente.
Tengo ojos y oídos, Sir.
No responde mis comandos.
Wat is er? Vertel, waarom laat ik geloof? Terwijl akten volk roken de weg.
Wow, tega nada. Défaillance du logiciel de traduction détectée.
You get the idea. So, the idea is that 50 years ago, the idea of a universal translator was something straight out of sci-fi. But we actually have the technology to do that right now. Not something that's like embedded in your tongue, but something you can speak into a phone or a piece of technology, and it can translate it into another language. So, where's the cursor? So, what I want everyone to do, if they would like, is that you can record a piece of audio at vocaroo.com, which is the what I use to get the audio files into the system, because it's the easiest way to upload files from anywhere into a system. So if you would like, you can put the audio files on that Jamboard session, and you can upload a piece of audio there by recording it. So I'll give you some pre-trained examples. So this is something that someone spoke earlier, and she didn't know what to say, but this is the Spanish thing.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos? La chica roja con el teléfono y el pelo negro con los ojos y otra cosa amarilla con gafas del color yo no sé qué, como un arco iris y...
So I don't know any Spanish. So what do? I didn't know what she's saying, so I put that into my universal translator, and I can get this as the output.
With the red chairs with the phone, and the black hair with the eyes, and another yellow thing with glasses with the color. I don't know what, like a little.
So here's what I did last night.
Took Tesla in his smart bowler hat and black cutaway coat from Montenegrin shepherd or fugitive from debtor's prison that June day he strode ashore at the Castle Garden Immigration Office in Manhattan.
And here's what it sounds like in German. And I know that people who are judging this are in Germany, so you can be the judge of how this is. The problem with taking this into a foreign language is that the model is currently trained only on English, so this is going to have a horrible American accent.
Verwen Salty, and St. Cluj Malone, and St. Sforcer Kinholoi Ventil, as Montenegrin, Shepherd Oder Quatchling Osden, Stolberg Feitness, and His Achievements Hat, our Ledger from Land and Squallsbergen, in Wandersburg.
So obviously that doesn't sound like German, but that's again only because the model that exists is only in English. But this can be fixed by training models on German and making sure that the language selected, the target language selected is German and using the German trained model. Again, I only found out about the hackathon literally on Thursday nights, so like I had to like figure out everything before then, and I did all the work literally yesterday, so I didn't have time to train the models, which requires literally 500 gigabytes of data per thing, but theoretically it's possible. Theoretically it's possible. So what I ended up using was the SV2TTS model for deepfakes, and everyone's seen the video of Obama talking stuff that he never said. And that's using this specific algorithm, which uses encoders, synthesizers, and vocoders to sort of build the actual model of the voice and take an input voice, understand how the frequencies are distributed across the phonemes and the pattern of the voice, and apply it to the model so that the phoneme extraction of a piece of text can be mapped to the quality of your voice given that phoneme. So this model is given some text, and you can get the translated text into a voice. So how can you get the text from your voice in the first place? So first you record your voice in Vocaroo, as I said, and you can record whatever you want in whatever language that you want. Then I use Symbol.ai's API to transcribe. They use their speech-to-text algorithm, their speech-to-text REST API methods to transcribe the source language into a piece of text. So say that I spoke in Spanish, then I could tell Symbol.ai to recognize that this is Spanish and export transcription in Spanish text. If Symbol.ai had extra NLP to understand automatically that the language that's being spoken is in Spanish, which certain APIs do have, that is an existing technology, then it could automatically detect the language that's being spoken. Say that you don't know the language that someone is speaking, then you can record it. This would be able to understand that they're speaking X language, and that could be fed into the algorithm translator to English and spit out their spoken text in English regardless of the language that's spoken because it was auto-detected. So then we feed it into a translation API. I can't remember which, it was a generic translation API, a freemium one that it was really cheap. So granted, the ideal thing to do is use the Google Translate API because it has the most accurate translations. The translation API is assuming that the NLP used to translate the text is accurate. And as we all know, that's not always accurate, but that's not my job. My job is to take speech to text, then text to speech. So the translation API, that's up to them to train the models on NLP and generate an accurate translation. So you can use whatever API you want to translate it, and you'll get an outputted translated text. Then I feed it into the support vector machine to text-to-speech model, the deepfake model that's sourced from Quarantine J's GitHub repository, which didn't even have an API. I had to read through the Python and use the CLI Python file to sort of the functions in there to sort of build the model, but feeding in the audio file and stuff. So we use the existing pre-trained model that they provide that's trained on English, and again, that's the only reason why we can't have an accurate voice in any other language, because the model is trained on English. If we had if you had a model trained on any language, then we could have any spoken language and it would sound accurate. So the model will again speak any language in an American accent, and it'll output the spoken word in your voice, just as I was saying. So there's a lot of use cases for this. So if we build an app that uses pre-trained models and has language detection built into it, then we could create a translator app that is able to detect as I said, was able to detect the foreign language. Say that you find someone and you don't know what language they're speaking and you can't communicate with them. You just show them your phone and press the record and then kind of gesture them to speak into it. They'll speak into it, then it'll finish recording, then it'll upload, and it would auto-detect the language, translate it into English, and spit it out for you in their voice in English. So Star Trek type conversations can be done between individuals this way by them speaking into this app and then outputting a conversation, outputting a piece of media, and you can go back and forth doing that without you and the other person having any sort of baseline communication method. So this could easily be a method for communication between people that otherwise don't share a language. It can be integrated into translator services like Google Translate, where the output you could train the algorithm specifically on your own voice, and it could output the text in a target language specifically in your own voice. Because as a language learner myself, one of the hardest things for me to learn when I'm speaking a new language is how it's supposed to sound. For example, I'm learning Swedish right now, and there's a lot of intonation things in Swedish that I don't know how to pronounce certain sentences. So the best way for me to learn is to hear someone else speak that sentence so I know how that sentence sounds. But someone's not always there, right? So if this speaks in my own voice, then I know how I have to shape my voice to make those sounds, and I can easily understand that I have to say something in this way because I can hear myself say it in the correct way. So that's another use case, language learning. And this is one of the NLP goals of the future. And ideally, what you can also do is that if you were web hosting this on a server that had extreme GPU technologies, it could be done real time if you had contextual analysis on the language and were able to use NLP prediction to understand how to structure text and context from a real-time speech, then it would be able to translate and dub a piece of audio real-time in that person's voice. That would require extreme NLP prediction technologies on voice and better translation technologies, but theoretically it's possible to do something like that. So you could easily, there's so many use cases for this particular technology, and I know that one of the big reasons that people are afraid of deepfake technology is that you can make anyone say anything. But what this does is that it requires you to be there to speak into it. Like as an app, you would have to yourself speak into an app to get the generated audio, and it'd only be short little clips. You can also potentially use this to translate books into audiobooks into other languages, but again, it's the ethical considerations of this. My specialty is not ethics, but this technology exists. It's up to humanity to decide how to use it. So what I have to do right now is that I'm going to train models on, when I have the ability, is that I'm going to try and get an Azure service where I can train models on different languages and find an efficient translator API and use emotional intelligence algorithms. And I know Simple AI has emotional intelligence in it, but it's not advanced enough for my goals. My goals are to find, at least identify 6 different emotions and output I wanted to output a vector of the confidence of each emotion and use that to sort of train models based on, that are on pre-trained models that are based on emotional dynamicism to weight the algorithm to exactly match the intonation and expression and emotional qualities of the original voice file into the target voice file. So I'm currently working on integrating this into a Docker client so that it can be downloaded as a Docker container and run as a Docker container itself. And the reason for this is that it would be very easy, once this is a Docker client, to create a Kubernetes cluster where the Docker client will be spun up based on a request into the system. It would input the file, it would input the audio file, process it, and then output the audio file, and that would be its only capabilities, its only importance. So it would, so using Kubernetes, you could use an API to call the Docker client up and integrate it into your app using an API of sorts. So this could be integrated into various telecommunications technology. For example, Single AI itself would be able to use this technology to dub their audio files on real-time audio. For example, instead of just doing text-to-speech thing, they can translate it and dub it as part of their API to dub things. And you could use this for all sorts of different things, but using an API, you could spin up a Kubernetes cluster and translate based on your services. And of course, you have what is the point if we don't include Klingon, because this is a Star Trek thing. So we got to find a way to integrate Klingon translation into the text-to-speech architecture. So we're going to try it out, and I'm going to show you my actual technology. So I had a lot of difficulties getting this working because I actually don't have a laptop, and I worked on it entirely here. Now, the problem with the Valencia computers is that they are garbage, and they don't exactly work, and you can't reboot things, you can't save things easily. So I had to do the work on the cloud last minute, literally like 3 hours ago. I uploaded my work to the cloud so that I can work on it in a Docker container and transfer it everywhere, and so it'll be easier for everything. So I uploaded this into Azure. So if we go to Azure,
The left tab?
Okay, and we're going to connect to the Azure portal via RDP, and it is open. Oh, it's over here. It's connecting. Oh, it's over here. There we go. So now it is logging in, and it already has it loaded up because it crashed. It's all good. I don't have to set it up again. Okay. So first I'm going to show you my code. I cannot see from here. So documents. So, whoops, not my file. So most of this is actually the fake code and me manipulating fake code, but my main thing is on here, and this should, oh, no. Let me open this and code. And I'm going to, come on. There, that would be easier for me to see. Okay, so my main two files are this REST API file. Is it gonna open?
Yeah, you have to respond to that thing first.
So my main file is the REST API file and the actual file that we execute. So first I'm going to explain the REST, what's going on in the REST API file. So here are the input languages so that you can type a language and then it gets translated into a language code. Unfortunately, the translator API and Simple AI uses different syntax for the language code, so that was a bit annoying. If Simple AI doesn't support the language, then it defaults to English. So this thing is getting the audio information. This one is getting the token from Simple AI. This one is, I think, what is this one? Oh yeah, this one is getting like uploading it and getting conversation ID. This one is the actual speech to text part. So this one is just waiting until it's done, sleeping for a second, so it's not spamming the API. And once the job ID stage that it's finished, then it returns completed, and then it will return it'll finish going and return the conversation ID. So this one will get the text out of the JSON and concatenate it because Simple AI exports the REST API in sentences, and we want a full piece of text. And this one is using the LinkBaNext Translate. The LinkBaNext Translate API to translate into a given language, and it's returning that. And then over here, there's another one, I think. Oh yeah, this is another file that I did. So this one is basically, I took the deepfake CLI code and sort of modified it so that it would be able to work with my code, and I put everything in a function so I could pass in the parameters of the in file and the translated text so that it would be easily able to train the encoder on that. So then here's our main function, and this will let you update you on what and all is going on. So it basically calls the different things, passes the functions. This is basically a wrapper. This is basically a wrapper. So what we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate this. Oh, I'm not on the right thing. Okay. Oh. I'm going to need a volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Want to volunteer? So I want you to record something, say anything, and record it into there.
I am speaking in plain English in front of a room of about 18 people. We have all just attended a hackathon and seen some very impressive projects.
Okay. Now I'm going to take this.
Do you need me for anything else?
No. I'm going to take this, and because this is a virtual machine, it's really hard for me to put the audio file on there. So I'm going to run the file. So it's just waiting, it's checking the libraries. So now I'm going to enter the Vocaro URL. Ideally, you would copy and paste this.
Yeah. Typing test.
So we're going to say had hack. This is giving me a little bit of issues earlier based on size of file things. I think that's just an issue with cloud thing. But so enter source language, that's English. What do you want to translate it to?
Klingon?
I don't have to.
Let's do German again.
German, okay. So German. So now it's analyzing it. It's going into the Simple AI's API, getting the speech to text. That's what the analyzing audio thing is. It's waiting for the conversation ID to return. It returned it. Now it is now it is waiting for the conversation ID to return. Yeah. Now it's doing the deepfake thing. Now this is all the deepfake code. So this virtual machine doesn't have much GPU, so ideally you would do this on a service that is GPU optimized for machine learning. Again, this is just a prototype, so that they did what they put.
That's cool. Yeah.
So you can see it's loading. I hope it actually saves because it was giving me an issue earlier because like I'm saying it was an out of memory issue, which doesn't make any sense. Oh, it outputted. So, okay, good. It didn't give me an error. Okay, so now we, I can't get this out of the virtual machine easily, but, you know, theoretically this would save to your own thing. So it should be here somewhere. We called it TADHack, something like.
Yeah, F5 maybe.
There it is.
For een Roman voor 18%. We're having all jury in een hacket and tail phenomenon on the unit, so we need to
How'd
So
I do?
Das
But-
schrecklich, mein Brain
that's that guy speaking in a bad American accent in German. But yeah, like again, if he had a model trained for German, then he would be speaking in near perfect German. But as currently stands, the deepfake algorithm, the deepfake model does not like special characters. So the ideal thing to do would be to figure out how to get the deepfake model to take IPA pronunciations and to get the translator service to export translated text in IPA. And then that IPA could be put into the translated service and then speak in a perfect thing because the pronunciation should be exact. So that's another thing to do, to find the translator service that exports IPA, etc. Yeah, that's the general project, and I literally did almost everything yesterday. That's why it's not really that developed, but I had to learn 3 APIs in one day and Azure, but that's why it's not as like developed. Although I would have created a GUI for it, I would have created a recording platform for it, but that's to do. I again will try and put this on Docker so that it's something you can pull from a Docker and run on your own PC. Yeah, that's my hack for the time.
Great.